Madam Superintendent, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year's to you as well.
Thank you. Great to have you today. So what we want to do is kind of take a look at what to expect for the next year for Broward schools. You know, you are in a very interesting position in that you actually have a job review coming up in, 3 weeks, 24 days. And yet here you are leading the district full steam ahead with a full plate of tasks to do, really. So kind of set the plate for us. Where are you in meeting certain benchmarks that have been given to you to meet, as well as planning for students in 2023?
Certainly. So I think the very first thing is that we do have our district strategic plan, and that does drive the work and the energy of the district. And of course, it's very specifically designed around an approach called student outcomes. And that is where we're really making sure that we are monitoring our students, and all the work that we are doing is setting our students up for success. And so that, of course, goes alongside with my guiding principle of students first. And so that is where a lot of our energy is focused right now. With the 24 days, as you're talking about, that is an update. So it's an update to the board as to movement we have made related to some items that they wanted us to make sure that we addressed.
It sounds like, anybody who has been following a really tumultuous end of year for the Broward district, it sounds like what may be perceived or reality as past inertia, bureaucracy, do things the way we've always done it, which was a real issue with the board, both outgoing and incoming. It sounds like that is a real priority to get through the bureaucracy, to speed up the processes and really make it happen.
That is exactly the case. You know, we're very fortunate in there are several areas that this district does a wonderful job in, and we have so many wonderful things happening. So even on our communication strategy, in order to get that type of information out into our community, because I go to schools, I see programs that frankly I wouldn't see in other school districts, and I'm like going, we have to make sure our public knows about this, about these opportunities for our students and how we are setting them up for success. So that's something that we're doing right now as well. For example, with our Smart Bond program, a lot of people don't know that right now, we have over 200 construction projects actively in progress right now. And when people don't know that type of information, and that there has been a change, and that we have put in different processes in order to make sure that there is a sense of urgency to go forward. We've got to make sure that we're communicating that out to our general community.
I want to sort of shift back to the classroom. I think one of the things that as we come into 2023, one of the biggest focuses on the changes in education statewide, of course, are the new laws that are now in effect, actually. And we talk about those all the time because it is such a seismic change for so many people, the laws like the Parents' Rights in Education law. And specifically in that one, I want to talk a little bit about how, practically speaking, the district is going to be handling parents' rights in education is kind of a no-brainer anyway, but this new law is very specific about ways parents can challenge things like curriculum and books, as is already happening. And it's sort of taken on, no secret, a bit of a political atmosphere. So I'd like for you to talk about how the district will be setting that process in place for parents, all parents, to really get involved, make challenges, and handle those challenges.
You know, I'm going to be very frank with you. We welcome parents being involved in their child's education. And I look forward to that and to strengthening those partnerships because it is a partnership. And it's one where we want to ensure that we are providing an appropriate education that is going to ensure student success in the future. And so that partnership, again, as we have conversations, is something that we welcome. And I do enjoy now and look forward to continuing. Whenever there is a concern by a parent, we hope that they will reach out, of course, to their school first, and because that's really the closest to where that concern may lie, so that that conversation can occur with the school administrator and the parent. Hopefully, before you can go into the administrator, maybe the teacher and the parent are having the conversation first, and then from there,
Are teachers prepared? Are teachers prepared for that? Have they been sort of briefed or trained or taken through how to handle those kind of interactions?
So, and I'm talking about more of your day-to-day type of communications that are happening in the classroom. If there is a concern, again, what we would want is for it to be addressed at the school level first. There is a process in place, so that way it gets documented. We do have a review process as well in order to address the concern. If it looks as though the parent is still not satisfied with the response from the school, then we also, of course, we have it coming up to the district level next for us to go through, again, another process to review these things in order to try to remedy the concern.
So in not such a unrelated component, the State Department of Education within the last couple of weeks have really reached out to a dozen or so school districts, Broward being one of them, and Miami-Dade as well, concerned about how some of the policies and processes, especially where it comes to LGBTQ students, comport with this new law. And I think I read someplace that Broward's district is now taking out a handbook of sorts that guides how to address LGBTQ issues. So describe what's being taken away, and in return, what is being put back in so that state law is complied with, and yet the student population is safe and secure and welcome.
Again, very good question. When we're working with students from the LGBTQIA plus community, that is something that we take very seriously because we do want to ensure that we are providing an inclusive environment to where those students feel safe and secure. Unfortunately, we know that the suicide ideation or as well as suicide rate for individuals from that community, unfortunately, is very high and it is very alarming. So ensuring that we have the proper supports in place that is going to be compliant with the law is very important. Our previous guidebook.
Do you have what does that look like, practically speaking? And you may not have that yet.
That's
trying to get to, so I want viewers to be able to get a sense of, practically speaking, how you're going to do that.
So at this point in time, we are reviewing the guide that we were actually drafting this past summer. Now that we have the guidance from the state that was approved here at the end of October, we are going back and we're going to make sure that the guidance that supports our students and is following the law, that we put that together and make available back out to our schools, to our students, to our parents. And again, the key thing on this is ensuring that we are in compliance with the law, but also with the understanding that is critical for us to support our children, our students, our young adults, our staff members who are in the LGBTQIA plus community. And knowing that we're here to support them while complying with the law and providing an atmosphere that is safe and secure for them.
Quick pause here for a quick break, and our conversation picks up with a look forward from the look back at overcoming learning gaps created by the pandemic.
We are, all of us everywhere, still coming off of the effects of COVID. And for students everywhere and teachers and school communities, that has been something to really deal with so many future implications. So we had talked about the components of how students are doing. I think we mentioned third grade English students. Only slightly half of those third graders are deemed proficient by standards in English. So talk, if you would, Ms. Superintendent, about the kinds of curriculum challenges and components that you've put in place to really get that COVID lag up to speed? Is that possible?
So one of the things we have done here in Broward County Public Schools is really taken a look at our teaching pedagogy. And what do I mean by that is what is the teacher teaching and how are they teaching it? And what is that relationship and the interaction that occurs between the teacher and the student? And we really are lasering in on what we call standards-based instruction. What that means is here is your curriculum, the written curriculum that comes from the Department of Education. Based on this, it has a standard, and it's supposed to be teaching whatever is in that standard. So that when we're saying standards-based instruction, that's what we're talking about, is that we're teaching to what is written in the curriculum. So the written curriculum is the taught curriculum and is the assessed curriculum. Doing that is making sure that we work on our professional development that happens daily out at our schools with our teachers, because our school leaders are out there ensuring that they provide the appropriate support for their teachers in the classroom. And this is coaching. It's not only the principal and assistant principal, but we also have coaches. So for some of our sites, we'll have like a reading coach, we'll have a math coach, going in and really focusing in on how to work with the student a lot of times, but they also transfer skills over to that teacher. So that way, when that coach is not working with the student, the teacher is empowered to be able to help that student be successful.
And is that specifically because of COVID, or is this something that the district is just putting in place to advance learning?
This is something we are putting into place to advance learning. I want to be very careful in saying that prior to COVID, the standards-based instruction is something that is something we've done for years. The difference on this is that we're really fine-tuned into it, and we are ensuring that we work with our principals through the principal supervisors to know that what are you looking for when you do a classroom observation or a walk through, or when you're just walking into a classroom and seeing how things are going and walking out, so that we know that the right support is being provided to our teachers. And that's really important. That goes back to the whole reason why I restructured our organization and back into the regional offices, is to be closer to the teachers and closer to our schools, closer to our principals, to provide them real-time assistance, because our role is to serve the schools and to ensure that they are being successful. Because if they are being successful, then we know that our children are being successful. And that is, again, going back to that guiding principle, students first.
Is there a teacher shortage issue this year?
There's always a teacher shortage issue across the entire nation. There is one right now. We started off the year really strong. I'll be very frank. What we did is, in fact, this is something I'm very proud of, because the work of my HR team, the work of our school principals and others really laser focused on this. We started the school year off in every one of our core academic classes with a teacher in those classes. Now, some of those teachers may have been district-based teachers that were temporarily placed out into schools to ensure that we started the year off right away. We still are having people from district office go in when there are vacancies, but we do have a lot of mobility with our teachers. And maybe that the significant other has a job offer and New York, so has left, it has to move. Or we also have retirements that occur during the year. So this is always something that we're constantly, it's a moving target, and we're constantly going out recruiting. Best serve our students is having that, being supportive, right? And when you're having conversations with youths, looking at it through the lens of a glass half full, rather than a glass half empty, and having those meaningful engagements. So over in our schools, some of the things that we will be starting to work on is something, it's a whole campaign that we're going to start with. So curbside appeal. And let me explain what that is real fast. So curbside appeal basically—
Like for selling a house, a curb appeal for selling a house.
Well, The curbside appeal is really important because we know the wonderful things that are happening inside of our facilities and with our students, because boy, we just have such a wonderful supportive staff and they are working as hard as they can. And our students are reaping those benefits. But sometimes when you drive by a school and you look at it from the outside, you're like, I'm not really sure I would want to send my children there. And our students sometimes are like, okay, yeah, that's the school I go to. And they don't have that sense of pride that they should have, right? And so we're really working to formulate ways in which individual schools, working with our partners in education, also our community members getting involved in order to do beautification.
Volunteering is, you're talking about volunteering?
Yes, volunteering your time. And of course, we always look for volunteers to be mentors inside of our schools too, but not everybody's comfortable doing that. And we can appreciate that. Or volunteering in the classroom, helping a teacher out. So there are so many different ways that individuals can work alongside us as we support our next generation coming forward, our students.
Well, I so appreciate you being with us on this New Year's Day. Happy New Year to you and yours. And, we will be in touch with you, as you know, throughout the year, watching all the things that you do. And we invite you back anytime.
Appreciate it so much, and Happy New Year's to you and to all of the viewers.
And we will be right back.